Stephen, can I bring you in here? You've said before that one of the key categories that WiseTech Global tracks is friction at borders, and that even talk of raising tariffs can create visible and tangible disruption before the policies are even actually implemented. So, from your vantage point, how much of this border friction that we have around the world at the moment is down to geopolitics, whether that's conflicts in Yemen, these tariffs, regional tensions, and how much is just the result of customs systems not keeping up with modern supply chains?
Great question, Mike. At WiseTech, we view friction at borders as one of the most telling indicators of global trade health. In CargoWise, we look after the ABCs of international trade. That's automation, brokerage, and compliance. And as a headline view, I would suggest geopolitical events create shocks, and the custom system challenges and keeping up to date creates a lag. So collectively, there are issues. Border friction is, as we know, a direct expression of politics. We see it in tariff rhetoric, even before duties are applied. Traders start rerouting, stockpiling. Sanctions enforcement, we see where dual-use goods or high-tech components are scrutinized because of conflict. Ukraine, tension in the Red Sea, and Yemen, as you mentioned. Those measures create visible slowdowns and uncertainty, and it happens very quickly. It's almost overnight. But there's also structural system issues. Many customs platforms were designed for bulk containers and monthly filings, not real-time e-commerce shipments or just-in-time manufacturing. That gap shows up in fragmented data requirements. Within the EU, as we'll discuss a little bit later, there are 27 different flavors of EU systems, even the ICS2 system, which recently went live on the 1st September. There's also challenges around transit platforms that can't keep pace with modern logistics. So even without a trade war, those frictions delay goods and do add costs. The real prize, I think, is aligning the two. So modernizing customs so that when politics do intervene, the systems can absorb disruption without paralyzing trade. However, until that time, we're involved in maybe smoothing out those local bumps within CargoWise with a global system supported by technical and local business experts.
Stephen, you were front and center managing the customs fallout of Brexit. You mentioned the EU there. Was that a foretaste of the kind of complexity that maybe that we're of a more fragmented trading world that's sort of emerging now? Can you illustrate what that complexity looked like, maybe with data or with examples? Should you have any?
Sure. Overnight, trade between the UK and the EU went from being frictionless to 200 million transactions required on an annual basis. So that was a fairly seismic shock. Every sector, from a small email service provider or e-commerce sellers to just-in-time automotive providers, were impacted, their supply chains were impacted. And those challenges went beyond the UK because any trading partners in the EU also had to increase the capacity of their custom system. In Ireland, for instance, pre-Brexit, there was 1.8 million customs transactions. And in December 2020, the first year of Brexit, there were almost 22 million customs declarations. So it was very significant, the impact. The second part of your question, I think, the UK today, I would argue, is possibly the most complex jurisdictions in the world. We have three customs regimes operating in the UK, running side by side. Obviously, in Great Britain, it's operating its own system called CDS, Customs Declaration System, which has replaced Chief. Northern Ireland is subject to the Windsor Framework Agreement, where goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland fall into either green lane or red lane, depending on their final use. And on top of that, there has to be a continuing alignment with EU safety and security filings for certain flows. So for an example, for a trader moving a single truckload from Birmingham to Belfast, they may need multiple declarations, different data sets, and careful management of risk to avoid diversion. It's a real illustration of how geopolitics relates into operational complexity. And it's not unique to the UK. We're seeing a patchwork of new requirements. The EU ICS 2 requirement, there are 19 plus core data elements per pre-departure, and that scales to millions of e-commerce parcels a day. NCTS Phase 5 also introduced new transit obligations, and there's 35 countries. It's not just within the EU, it's those on the borders. And then other major economies we're aware of, US, Brazil, China, are digitizing what they're doing.